Everybody, I hope you're having a great week. All right, just a quick little pep talk for your voicing practice. First of all, I want to say regarding word choice. Sometimes when we're watching something and we see something like this signed, we know exactly what he means by that sign, but we're just not sure exactly what word to choose, how we should put it in there. Sometimes pausing, like holding that thought, holding that sentiment that he clearly has, and putting it in later with a word that comes to you later is sometimes a good strategy, especially because it is a sentiment and not a main idea. You can go, how am I going to put that in there? And then you can say later, maybe, so we really regret this conflict, or we know this is a very unfortunate situation. You can put that in later when a word comes to you. When a word comes to you that fits better. You don't always necessarily know he's going to sign it again, but even if you don't, you know he's still talking about the same situation. And so even if he doesn't sign it again, you could end a sentence with, so we regret this, or so we do deeply regret this, or this is incredibly unfortunate, or something like that. Okay, just a strategy to deal with things like that. Again, it's a sentiment, not a main idea, so you're able to kind of use strategies like that force you to hold on to it a little bit longer. Risks possibly forgetting to put that in, but if you did forget to put that in, you're only omitting a very small point, not like a very small detail. I'm not saying that you should omit it. I'm just saying that you could hold and try to think of something better, and if God forbid you forgot that even existed because of processing, then it wouldn't be the end of the world if you forgot to put in that he regretted that. Okay. Regarding organization, so in the video he talks about the Starkey organization, the Starkey Foundation. And so you may want to do some Googling about that. I believe, just to kind of give you a little bit of kind of like cultural rumor or whatever, I believe Marlee Matlin is sometimes criticized because of her work with that agency. I believe they have a partnership. So just so you may hear about that or find a video about that. Ella Lentz has a lot of discussion about organizations that are not that have kind of a bad reputation in the deaf community, and so you may want to go through her page and try to find some. I just actually did that myself, and I couldn't find specific ones that I was looking for, but I know she does talk a bit about some organizations. She's very much like does a lot of advocacy work, and so she talks a lot about like cochlear implant companies that are trying to take advantage of the deaf community and things like that. So you may want to take a look at her YouTube page to find some more organizations that you might want to be aware of. I know that EHDI is a name that comes up a lot, early hearing detection and intervention. And that's another organization that gets brought up a lot. I'm not sure if it's got a good rep or bad, but I kind of feel like it's bad. So anyway, see what you can find out about those organizations that might, for the purpose of your own knowledge, but also so that you are familiar with them, so you can catch those names when they come up in interpreting work. Stay calm with finger spelling. This comes up a lot, but it's a hard one to get used to doing. I kind of think of voice interpreting practice or voice interpreting work in general. It's kind of like having the level of intense concentration required, at least for me, is kind of like having glasses thrown at me, like glass trinkets, let's say, thrown at me, right? So I'm catching, I have to pay attention, and I don't want to let it drop. I don't want dropping the information. I can't let it drop. And then when we have, let's say, one of those glass trinkets coming at our face is a fingerspelled word, right? And let's say drops. So we miss that fingerspelled word entirely. Glass shatters all over the floor. Guess what, guys? There is more glass coming at our faces. So we cannot sit and stare at the glass and go, oh, the glass, it broke, the glass, it broke, right? Because then we're going to get pelted by more, and we're going to miss more and more things, and it's glass, so it's damaging, and it's doing more and more damage to, your interpretation and your work. So yes, sometimes the glass is going to drop, right? We drop glass, and actually drop glass sometimes. But if we let ourselves lose our minds over it, then much more harm is done. Let it go and stay focused, even more focused. As soon as that glass drops, there should be a heightened intensity on the amount of focus we're giving to the rest of the message, because we can only use what's actually there. We can't use what's shattered on the floor to help us get anything. It's gone. It's just shards of glass, right? Those shards of glass are not going to help us understand the message at all. The only thing that's going to help us understand the message is intensely focusing on what's coming at us next. And we have to really get used to practicing that, intensely focusing on what's coming at us next and remembering what just came at us. And when we get used to that, you wouldn't believe how much we can piece together and figure out what that missing piece is. You cannot freak out about the fingerspelled words. I was asked how much practice should we do after watching the guidance video? Should we continue going over and over and over these videos even after watching guidance? I would suggest doing it a couple more times until you feel like you have an adequate interpretation, okay? Until you feel like you have an adequate interpretation. No, you shouldn't do it a million times. You shouldn't spend days and days and days on it after watching guidance. You should watch it, you shouldn't do that. I would say that the 2 or 3 times you do it after watching guidance, it would be a good idea to kind of assign a specific skill, a specific focus to one or some of those practices. So let's say that you find that your word choice is often off, or similar to word choice, you might find that you're adhering to form a lot. So your sentences end up taking on the ASL structure that you see. If you're noticing, or whatever, maybe you're working on, have it staying further back in your lag time or whatever. Before you do one or some of the redos of these voice interpretations, say, okay, this time through, I am going to focus on word choice, right? And then try it. And you might find that you don't do so good, even, maybe halfway through the video, you totally forgot that you were even working on word choice. That happens to me a lot. I'll be like, I totally forgot that I was trying to focus on this one thing, and I got totally thrown off. So then you do it again. Okay, word choice. Let's try it again. And play. Let's try it again, right? And so all these videos are fairly short, but it's worth a couple times through a video, specifically focusing on a specific skill. All right. Every single one of the skills that you are working on needs focused, deliberate practice, and some of these skills need more deliberate practice than others. So really get used to you have to set your mind to the intention that you are working on a thing. Just going, you don't magically, check off things like cure your weaknesses magically by just doing things over and over again. You cure these things by setting an intention to work on this specific skill. People really forget, what we're doing is a skill in the same way, Serena Williams has mastered her skill of tennis, or what's his face? Tiger Woods just had, just won again. He's mastered this skill of golf. Golf. So they put in hours and hours and skill after skill practice after skill practice. Like, he's probably putted this distance, or I don't know anything about golf. I'm making this stuff up, but he does, repeating. He probably has putted this distance from here to here 1,000,000 times in his practice, so that he knows that now I know how to do this. If a ball is here and I have to get it into the hole here, I can do this consistently every time. But it wasn't like he was born knowing how to putt from here to here, right? So he's put in time with that specific skill. And with golf, just like with interpreting, there are a bazillion other skills that he's put in the time and focused on, deliberate practice, and finally he's able to master that and move on to the next skill. So setting that mental intention on a specific skill is very, very helpful in in knocking off things off your things to work on list. Okay. Coping. Remember that these videos, voice interpreting videos, is harder. Most of the videos that you're going to get here are going to be harder than you're going to get on most tests, and certainly more difficult than you get in real life. In real life, of course, we have that engagement, so there's just so many more factors in real life that make it much easier than videos are, okay? But it's still a good idea, because you are going to take a test and it is going to be recorded on video, to get used to coping. Sometimes when a video starts off really, really badly, it just keeps getting worse and getting worse and getting worse and getting worse. And in those situations, you want to take that opportunity to figure out, like, just try to get something else out of it. Try in the middle of that to just to make it better. How can I, figure out how to get something out of this video? Because if this were on a test, you don't want to just tank, right? You want to figure out, or you're going through and you're just like, oh gosh, I totally messed the whole beginning of this thing up. Is there any way that I can eke out the message? Can I take a second and take a deep breath and just focus on what's being said? Can I figure out what is actually being said, summarize a little bit of the beginning that I really botched up, and then get the rest of this thing done, right? Work on it. Like, don't just panic and go, oh, I messed it up again, pause. But really go, oh gosh, okay. Good thing this is practice. Let me see if I can figure out how to get back in the game. Keep working. Okay. Okay, it's in Oklahoma. Okay, it's a meeting, okay. And then start, and then keep going, right? Try to see if you can to rectify the situation when things don't go well. It's almost a bigger accomplishment to be able to fix, to kind of repair something that didn't go so well at the beginning, than to have something that that's easy and that you can just voice really easily all the way through. Figuring out how to do that, how to cope, is super, super important. Last thing I want to talk about, I'll mention this in the taboo in the taboo video. So that is it for me. Again, let me know if you have any questions at all. If you ever want me to take a look at one of your voice interpretations, please think about what you want me to take a look at. Send it over to me. Meet with me during office hours so we can discuss it. Or if you just have a question for me, I can take a look at it and reply to you via email. I want to make sure you all remember that you have that option available to you. That's it. Last one is taboo, and that's next.